All right, so in this video I want to show you how to properly degrease your cabinet door, which is the same thing for your cabinets too, but how to degrease your door so that your paint adheres to it. Because what you have is, with all doors, they have either a lacquer or a polyurethane finish on them, especially those in the 90s. They have a really thick polyurethane finish on them. And any shine that's on here, any grease that's on these is going to repel the paint and the finish. And you're going to get cracking and peeling, and so if you do this step, you're not going to have to sand hardly at all. I mean, you can just sponge sand it and prep, and it's ready to paint. So this is a really crucial step. What you're going to need is you're going to need your degreaser that comes in your kit, and your scrub pad, and then your razor blade. So first off, what I want to do is, the back of these cabinets have just a little bit of the bumper pad left on there that has some of that tacky stuff, and so you want to get as much of that off right now while it's dry. And then you take your degreaser and spray it. Be liberal with it. You want to get it all in there, make sure it's wet, and you're going to push fairly hard on here. This is the part that isn't very fun, and I wear gloves because I have baby soft skin, and so I don't want to say, my camera guys here like laughing at me, but I have baby soft skin and I don't want anything on them. So you can wear gloves, you don't have to, this isn't toxic to your skin. I just don't like the feeling of grease and stuff on my fingers. So, and you want to make sure to get in any of these, all these grooves right in here, and especially these edges right along here. Get those really well. Just go over it a couple times. Then you take your razor and you're gonna hold it straight up and down. And this sound really bothers my wife, but doesn't bother me. And you sit there and scrape. And you're not gonna hurt the door, you're not gonna hurt the wood, as long as you don't cut it, as long as you keep it straight up and down, you're gonna be fine. And you just sit there and scrape all that old grease and grime and stuff off of there. And you can see what it picks up. I mean, I'll throw it there on the table. You can just see what it does. It takes a lot of the stuff off of it, which this is the gunk that clogs up your sandpaper and makes it difficult to finish. So after you do that, dry it off. Flip it over, do the same thing on the next side. And to let it fully dry, it takes about 10 minutes. So you can just do these, line them all up and do them. And by the time you finish up, do the last door, or you do a set of 5 or whatever, by the time you finish up, you're ready to paint them. There you go, that's how you degrease. So in this video, I'm going to show you how to properly sand your door so that it ensures you have a proper bond of your top coat or your paint. And just as you degreased properly, that's a crucial step so that it reduces the amount of sanding you have to do. This step, sanding, is going to ensure that you have a smooth finish that holds well and goes over the door really well. So in most cases, you can just use a sponge that came with your kit. If you have really old or really dirty cabinets, you may want to go with either a 180 or a 220 grit sandpaper. And again, we sell those too. You can add them onto your shopping cart and include those as well. You don't want to go anything less than 180 though, because it'll scratch your door and you'll see those scratches come through. And this door was really thick and grimy, so I'm going to go over it with some sandpaper. I'm actually going to do 220 this time, and then I'm going to go over it again with my sponge, just to ensure that I have a nice, smooth, durable finish. So you go with the grain again, and you don't need to sand it heavily, just enough to get it dull. So I'm going with the grain on all of these stiles and rails here. Then I'm going to go on the panel. And then the sponge is great for inside these areas right there because it just folds right around these edges and detail there, and then you don't have to worry about missing anything there. So the great thing about this is, while you're not eliminating sanding altogether, it greatly reduces it, because now you can see that this is proper, this is ready to go. And I didn't have to sand it extensively. I didn't have to go all the way down to the wood, which is a huge task. So then I'm just going to do the edge. You can blow it off with, if you have an air hose, a compressor, or you can just wipe it down. And the goal you're trying to get, the goal of this whole process is to get rid of any kind of a sheen. If you have more of a flat door, as far as the sheen goes, the shine, then your paint is going to adhere really well to that. So this is ready to go. We got it all sanded, prepped, and if you have any kind of cracks, or this one's good, but any kind of cracks or holes, you can putty those and then sand them smooth, and then you're ready to go. All right, so today I want to show you how to properly paint your door so that you get a nice smooth finish. And going into this, you know you're going to do at least 2 coats. But the great thing about this is you don't have to do primer, you don't have to do a top coat. Our product is self-sealing, and it's a durable top coat as well. And so you don't have to put anything else over it. First off though, what you're going to need is you're going to need obviously your paint, your brush, a stir stick, your can opener, and then your roller and your pads that came with it. So you really want to make sure as well that you stir every time you stir your paint. You can shake it if you really want to, but sometimes shaking it causes some air bubbles, which might show up in your finish. And so we recommend that you just stir it really well. You know, 30 seconds or so, and just make sure that anything in the bottom is now all mixed through thoroughly. With your roller, a good tip is to, instead of shoving it all the way to the end, it can cause your roller to catch on that bracket. Just pull it out maybe 1/4 of an inch, 3/8 of an inch, and that way your roller rolls really smoothly. You don't have to worry about it catching it all. So I start off with my edges. So I'm going to take my brush and I'm going to go right in this inside edge all along here, and then also this outside edge. And you do your brushing first, because then when you roll, it's going to smooth it all out. So I dip it in, and you want to lay it fairly thick, but not, I mean, you don't want globs of paint everywhere. And remember, you are going to do 2 coats. And you're going to sand with a sponge in between. Be aware of any dripping that you have here. Just make sure that you catch all that, because you don't want to have globs of paint sticking around on the front side of your door. So with your roller, you want to make sure that it's wet. Don't be afraid to throw it on there. You know, put a lot of paint on there. It's okay. You want to make sure that it's always wet, because if it's not, then it's going to pull the paint up. All right. Okay, we're looking good. Give that about half an hour, and then we'll do a second coat on the back and then flip it over and do the top side. So now you've let this dry and you're ready for the second coat. But before you put a second coat on, this is where a lot of people make the mistake too, is they just throw another coat on there. But if you want it to be really smooth, right now it's fairly smooth, but there's still a little bit of, some bumps and such in there. So that's when you take your sponge and you're just gonna lightly sand it. You don't wanna sand it all the way off. In fact, I'm gonna do it off of these things. But you wanna sand it so that you're getting rid of any of the raised portions from the wood absorbing it, or from your brush or your roller. And just a quick, really quick run through, because you don't want to sand it off. So now you've got it where it's smooth and it's ready to go for a second coat. You want to make sure that your brush stays wet so that you can let it flow, because what this paint is designed to do, it's designed to level, a lot like lacquer, and so it's designed to, if you get it on there thick enough, you don't want to leave streaks or things like that where you don't have it very thick. But if you leave it on there, put it on there so that it can level off, that's how you get that smooth finish, a lot like a lacquer does, it just levels off. All right, so again I'm gonna do my panel, and I'm gonna do it fairly thick here. All right, so there we have it. You want to make sure that it's all wet and uniform, and there's no drips. Again, on this, you gotta watch these edges, especially that there's no drips on it, and that it's all, you can look at it in the light and just kind of see that it's ready to go. Again, let that dry for 30 to 45 minutes. Then you can flip it over and then do the same thing with the front side that you did on the back side here.